Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Tuesday morning Mortgage Coach coaching call. Every Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock Pacific, we're here to connect as a community. My name is Dave Savage. I'm the CEO of Mortgage Coach. Anybody that is coming to their very first Mortgage Coach call, welcome. It's good to have you, and I urge you to connect with me on both Facebook and LinkedIn. So it's a pretty exciting, pretty cool call for a number of reasons. One, I've got Ron Quintero as my co-host, which it's been years since we did this all the time, but there was so many years, Ron, where you and I co-piled these calls. It's great to have you on the call, brother.
It's good to be back on them, Dave. It's rock and roll, man. I'm excited to have one of my mentors, one of the people that I look up to, a part of this call. So I'm really excited about being on this call.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a bit of a backstory on Mr. Michael Porton. He may know some of it. He may not know some of it. But his book got on my radar years ago, just my relationship with Ron. Ron's like, hey, I just got featured in this book. And so that was the first time I saw your book, Michael, and it's exciting to have you on the call. Again, there's more to the story. We have Mr. Andy Tuttle, who most recently put you on my radar. I know you're a mentor and a leader to Andy. Andy, are you by chance on the call, my friend? Hey, Jacob, if you could keep an eye out for Andy. I asked him to join the call, so keep an eye out for him, and when he raises his hand, let's bring him into the conversation so that when I officially introduce Michael, he can speak in and share some of his perspectives.
Andy is. Hey guys, I am on the call, by the way.
Oh, good. So it's a cool call. It's great for me to have our community and our members bringing in leaders, helping me get conversations like this with leaders. So Andy, thank you for your role on this call.
Hey, Dave,
my pleasure, man. Excited to be on the call with you guys.
Dave, I'll need you to reshare your screen, please. It dropped off when we promoted Andy.
Okay, no problem. You need me? Oh, okay, I see what's going on. All right. Confirm that you can see it, Jacob?
Gotcha. You're
Confirmed, Dave. This is Ron.
All right, thanks, guys. So let's do some opening thoughts, just cleaning house, then we'll bring Michael in and we'll interview him, get to know him better. So opening thoughts are first and foremost, rates aren't as bad as they were a couple months ago. I mean, at least the past 10 days have been a positive trend. Now, when you look at the macro trends, it's still downward. Rates are down. And by the way, Andy, how far are rates down over the past 3 months? How many basis points off are we?
You mean bonds are down, rates are up, but go ahead.
Yeah, right. I was like, huh? So thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, we're off a few hundred basis points, man. We went down, as you know, as everybody is on this call can see just by looking at the chart on the screen. It was an 800 basis point drop altogether, but we have been able to at least regain a couple of hundred basis points of that. We were able to see rates tick on our slot. We improved just in the last couple of weeks, at least a quarter point, maybe a little bit more. It's been real nice. Help some of those deals that were just on the cusp get back to being deals again. So that's been a nice pop we've seen.
Good. So for all you Mortgage Coach members, what we're showing right now is Rate Watch. And Michael, just so you understand our community and our role to the members on the call is to provide them with tools so they can be trusted advisors. They can be mortgage professionals. And part of that is really being an expert and a master of what's going on with rates. So that's part of the platform. Andy, anything else you think needs to be shared with the group as we roll?
It's about Michael, I'll tell you what. I definitely listen to this. Man, what I love about, and this is a weird analogy, but I remember Herschel Walker back in the day. You know, he played football, but he practiced ballet to help him. When you listen to guys that are outside of our industry, it's doing that. It's helping the rest of your core be solid, and you're going to get some great outside of industry ideas that help in the industry that just give you a different perspective and are going to they're going to give you a different edge. I'm like, ooh, I'm losing a little bit of my edge because I have this. He's not a secret by any means, but I know for the mortgage community, he is not. He is a little bit of a kept secret, and he's so valuable. And you're going to find so many ways to go get these realtors and approach them in a way that no one else is. You already have Mortgage Coach, and this is another. You're just going to continue to add value. So listen to this call. You're going to get so much out of it. Make sure you're taking notes.
Good.
Hey, Dave,
thanks. Yeah, go ahead.
Before we get too far away from rates in the market and turn on to Michael, I want everybody to be aware of, if you didn't see it this past week, that article regarding PNC Bank deciding to shut down 200 branches. They've already shut down a little over 100 of them. They're laying a lot of people off. And one of the things they talked about in that article, Dave, that I know is near and dear to your heart, is the consumer gravitating more and more towards internet resources and mobile resources. And the amount of work that Mortgage Coach has done recently with its move to the mobile platform, basically in lockstep with the actual consumer and the direction that they're going in. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. I mentioned to you a couple of weeks ago when the first, actually about 4 weeks ago, the first uptick in interest rates, and the drop in the bonds. The first week we saw 4 mortgage companies shut their doors in Orange County, California. And that was basically attributed to being a one-dimensional mortgage company. And most companies are created in direct response to a trend taking place in the market. And when that trend for the last few years has been refinances, those companies like RateRabbit.com, perfect example, they're in my building here and they're getting ready to shut down. When we hear about these companies that didn't have any roots, no longevities, they're just created in direct response to take advantage of a current trend. When that trend goes away, so do those companies. So those of you that are on this call that are dedicated to being a true professional, you're in it to win it for the long haul. You're not just coming in trying to take a little bit of cream off the top. You're in it. You're a committed professional for the duration. You've got roots. You've got relationships in place. You've got the sustainability and the commitment to basically do whatever it takes to get done. And do you mind if I transition just to 1 minute, Dave? I don't know your full agenda, but I want to be able to just mention my introduction to Michael Port.
Could you do that in just a minute, Ron? Let me get through a few more slides and then go ahead and do your intro.
You bet, buddy.
All right. So to set the table for Michael so that he has a bit more perspective on the community and the professional he's going to be speaking to, and just to connect the dots for everybody, we all know success with realtors is essential. And if you've got lots of realtor relationships, well, then you need to elevate. You need to go from being a secondary referral partner to a primary. And for many of you, and the survey results will show it in a minute, you need more partners. So the concept of booking yourself solid, it's essential. So Michael, just to know where we sit in the sales process, this is the typical loan officer sales process. They've got marketing. In the mortgage business, you're selling when you're quoting a rate, and you're getting the buyer's trust, their respect, and their commitment to do business. And the thing that we teach Michael here is that rate quote is so important because not only is that where you win or lose the business, but if you blow people's mind with value, just surpass their expectations, they give you more referrals. You get higher win rates, you get more referrals. And the average mortgage experience, Michael, and you may know this, you may not, of course you know this, it looks something like this. And the most average way that loan officers quote rates is they fill out a yellow sheet of paper, and then they send out an email, or they just shout out, I can get you this rate or that rate. And what we teach people is that, deliver amazing value. Ask a few questions, put it in a simple 8-step sales process, and out comes this amazing desktop presentation. And I know you saw a few of those. What Ron was talking about was that we've invested a lot in developing amazing apps. And for the community, I mentioned it last week, but we're in soft launch mode on the Android app now. So there's a native app for both iOS and Android so that you can deliver value to home buyers and realtors where they need it most. If they're a realtor, they need that value while you're in their office. Pull up your iPad, have an intelligent conversation, share a story, how you helped a client. And so I just wanted to set the table so that, Michael, you understand this group of folks, they all have some unique tools, some unique ways of delivering value in the meetings. So what I want to do before I have you do the full introduction, Ron, is I want to do a couple quick surveys because I want to get a feeling for how many meetings people are getting and how much business they're doing so that as we have this conversation with Michael, we can just nail it. So Jacob, if you could push this survey real quick. I don't want it up for more than 30 seconds. But how many realtor meetings do you average per week? Are you getting 1 or 2, 3 or 4, or are we talking goose eggs? So really quick, give us a pulse check on how many meetings you're going to get. Because the thrust of this conversation with Michael is how do we book ourselves solid? How do we make sure that we've got all the meetings we need to achieve our goals? So, Jacob, what percent do we have that have answered that question so far?
We are at 61% voted.
Let's go ahead and push out the results.
Okay.
And everybody, the faster you push it, the faster we can get into our conversation with Michael. What are the results, Jacob?
Results are 27% at 0, 60% at 1 to 2, 9% at 3 to 4, and 4% at 4 plus.
Okay, so 5% rule. Ron, any surprises there?
Yeah, I think there needs to be more in the 3 to 4 range. You know, in what is his name? Farazi, in his book Never Eat Alone. It's really simple. We have 5 business development appointment opportunities every day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour, and or a coffee meeting. You know, so we have 5 opportunities per day to break bread, to get in a meeting with a center of influence to be able to develop your sphere of influence, to be able to increase your referral partnerships. And 1 to 2 per week's not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. You've got to be in that 3, 4, 5, 6 range. And 1 to 2 per day is really the range that a person needs to be in. If you're going to accelerate, as rates start to hedge up, and they're going to continue to hedge up, gang. Just, you know, we've been dealing in a false market for the last 2.5 years by the Fed stimulating the bond market. So you don't look in the rearview mirror and think about how things used to be, because that was a false market. The way things are going to be, it's going to be 70+% of the referrals that are driven to consumers come from realtors, and it's still that way to this day. And you've got to have effective meetings. You've got to be able to have effective relationships in order to win in the marketplace that we're hedging into. So my advice to everybody on this call is you need to be focused on 1 or 2 per day. Dave?
I like it. And I'm not going to push this next survey. Do not push this, Jacob, because I asked a very similar question last week. I want to get to the content, and I know where it's going to go. It's going to be 5 to 10% or 8 plus, you know, a percentage of 0. You know, the point's been made. We need more purchase business. And that's why we bring in people from outside the industry to help share ideas and strategies. So, Ron, why don't you take the first round introducing Michael, and then let's get the conversation started.
Sure. Several years ago, I was walking through an airport. Actually, I was at the Chicago O'Hare Airport. And, you know, I always pick up different reading materials. I always like to see what's, you know, kind of the cutting edge stuff, the new releases and so forth. And I saw this title, Book Yourself Solid. And I just said, wow, what an intriguing title. If not anything else, this guy gets, you know, 5 stars for having such a creative title just to get me to want to pick up the book. And we all know that, and Michael, you can speak to this, you know, in marketing and in sales, if you can get a person to pick up a bottle of wine, you've increased the likelihood of them purchasing it by 40%. If they get 2 hands on that same bottle, there's about a 68% likelihood that they're going to purchase that bottle of wine. And the same is true for books. You know, I looked at that book, and I immediately picked it up, and I said, there's no way I'm putting this book down. Now, I'm so intrigued by the title, I've got to read this book. And I read it on a single flight, by the way. I had a 6-hour flight because I had to go from Chicago to New York, do a program, and then fly back home. And I had that book read before I got home. I just could not put it down. I was really enthralled by it, and just the advice that you were given throughout that book. And then you released another book behind it. And this is where, you know, folks, what I want you to do is, as you're being introduced to Michael Port, study him. Observe him as I have. You know, the guy's a master. The guy is brilliant. Created this whole online community. Does a coaching program where he invites people into his home. I mean, just a phenomenal, you know, he's no BS, gang. He is the real deal. You don't know of too many speakers that actually conduct the training within their homes for his VIP clients and the people that he's going deep with. Then he came out with another book. It's called Beyond Book Solid. And of course, because I was a part of his online community, I received an advance notice, and Michael had people pre-registered for the pre-release of that book, where he had probably, I don't know the exact number, but I'm guessing thousands of that book pre-sold before it was ever completed. You know, and then he came out with a big manifesto, and, you know, just book after book after book, and the compound effect of the advice that he gives to everyone. This is a person that you want to put on your radar. You know, we're all big fans of Todd Duncan. Todd Duncan has written several books within the mortgage industry and is from the mortgage industry. And even though Michael is not pigeonholed by just strictly the mortgage industry, he is a Todd Duncan-like mentor that you want to be following and be in his wheelhouse of email newsletters that he's putting out and the communications that he's putting out and the continued advancement of the advice that he's given to, and again, just not salespeople. This guy is retained by CEOs and thought leaders around the world, not just the United States, and not limited by the mortgage industry. So you're about to be able to listen to some advice from a thought leader that is someone you definitely want to put on your radar. So Michael, that's my introduction to you. I'm going to throw it over to Andy because I know he has an opening question to be able to get the conversation flowing here.
Well, thanks, guys. And Michael, I just want to get right to it, obviously, because there's just no reason to I feel like you've been just waiting there about to explode like a rocket ship of information, so I'm ready to drink from the funnel today. But first of all, man, thanks so much for being here, Michael. It's glad to have you.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's get you into this. It's one of the things that I found most interesting when I read your first book, and you have a thought that you don't think marketing gets you clients, and it just seems counterintuitive. I mean, since you're a guy, the Wall Street Journal calls a marketing guru. Can you elaborate on that part?
Yeah, sure. So I know it seems counterintuitive, this idea that marketing doesn't get you clients. I think that's what's often taught, and I think it's often a mistake that people make. They rely on their marketing efforts, and they think the marketing efforts are going to book the business. The marketing efforts don't book the business. What they do, however, is create awareness for you and what you offer. And one of my favorite quotes from Winston Churchill goes like this. It's a mistake to look too far ahead. Only one link in the chain of destiny can be handled at a time. And I look at sales like that. I look at booking yourself solid like that. And often we go too fast through the process. Too many links, we skip too many links in that chain of destiny at a time. And as a result, we don't build something strong, a connection from us to the person that we're trying to serve. So what you do is you use a few, not even all, just a few of the 6 core self-promotion strategies. And they're not new concepts. And we can discuss them certainly today. But there are 6 of them. You use a few of these to create awareness for who you are and what you offer. Now, once somebody becomes aware of you, this is either a referral partner or a potential buyer, an actual client, they're going to check out what I call your foundation. And if they step onto this foundation and it feels insecure, if it feels shaky to them, then they're going to get off and go away. But if it feels secure, it feels solid, if it feels like it was built for them, it's still not enough for them to buy from you. But they may give you an opportunity to earn their trust. And then if you have a plan for building trust and credibility over time, because trust is not necessarily built in an instant, trust is built over time. If you have a plan for building trust and credibility over time, and your pricing strategies are effective, and you know how to have a very simple sales conversation, which books the business because you're having it at the right time, then you can book the business again and again and again and again. And the process is very systematic. You use a few of the core self-promotion strategies. You create awareness for who you are, what you offer. People come check out this foundation. If you have the 4 building blocks for this foundation in place, they will feel solid. They will feel like it was built for them. They'll give you an opportunity to earn their trust. You go about earning their trust over time, making sales offers that are proportionate to the amount of trust that you've earned. And when I say sales offer, that's for an actual buyer, but also for referral partners. Because anytime you try to move something to somebody to do something, that's a sales offer. If I want you to send me a referral, I'm making an offer to you. To me, that's a sales offer. Anytime you're trying to move somebody. So if you have a plan for building trust and credibility, you're making sales offers that are proportionate to the amount of trust that you've earned, and you know how to have a simple sales conversation, well, you'll book the business again and again and again. And if you approach your marketing and selling in a very systematic way, then all you have to do each day is execute a few of these self-promotion strategies, and allow the rest to work for you because you've already set it up. That's the key.
Love it. So, I'm curious on the title, Book Yourself Solid. You heard how everybody answered the number of realtor meetings they have, which are that is the lifeblood to more purchase business in this market.
Yeah.
What is booking yourself solid? How does a salesperson know whether they're booked solid or not?
Sure. Well, each person's got to decide that and find that for themselves, because you have your sales goals, right? Your sales goals need to be on paper. So you know exactly what you need to do over the next 12 months, each quarter, each month, each week, each day. And if you have set your sales goals, for some people it may be from an income perspective, not necessarily from a mortgages book perspective, but let's say it's $1 million. Well, then you know what you need to do every quarter, every month, every week, every day. If it's $100,000, same thing. So your definition of book solid is what's important. And then, of course, you're going to need to do more or less activity in order to book that amount of business. So if you're going to need to book you want to make $1 million, and you're going to need to have more meetings than if you want to make only $100,000. And so that poll, guys, Ron said it, that is not going to cut it. It is not going to cut it. 0 meetings with realtors, obviously. There's no business coming to you. 1 to 2 a week? No way. Not enough. So yes, I absolutely agree with Ron. At least 1 to 2 a day. And in fact, I'm going to give you a simple networking technique that will allow you to increase your touches, your connections with realtors every single day, so that you are on a path to have a much larger number, a greater number of people that are going to send you referrals. And that's part of the networking strategy, which is, again, one of the 6 core sell promotion strategies, which we can talk about in a bit. But I'd love to talk about the foundation first, because I think without that foundation, none of the marketing is effective. You can do the greatest networking in the world, the greatest direct outreach in the world, greatest referral strategies in the world, but if people come and check out your foundation and it's not solid, they don't feel comfortable there, they're not going to pay any attention to you. So that's the first thing we need to look at. Can we talk about that? Would that be okay?
Please. That'd be fantastic.
All right. So there are 4 building blocks in this foundation. If I was in a room with you, I'd say, how many? You'd say 4, just to make sure everybody's paying attention. So 4 building, and you know why speakers do that, right? Just so we can continue to make immediate in-the-moment connections to the.
Yeah, we'll jump. Jerron and I will be your audience.
All right. So there are 4 building blocks in the foundation. How many?
4.
Excellent. Good. So the first is what I call your red velvet rope policy. The second building block is understanding why people buy what you're selling. The third building block is developing a personal brand identity, not just a business brand identity, but a personal brand identity, so you decide how you're known. And finally, that 4th building block is being able to talk about what you do without sounding confusing, boring, bland, like everybody else, but without using an elevator speech. I'm on a mission to kill the traditional elevator speech, and I'll tell you why when we get to that. So the first building block is this red velvet rope policy, and this is often confronting. Maybe it's a contrarian way of looking at things, but a red velvet rope policy is a filtration system that you set up so you allow in only the most ideal clients, and the same thing stands for realtors, for referral partners. You only try to develop relationships with ideal referral partners and ideal clients, which means you say no often. I say no as much as I say yes. And you talk to Andy, Ron, Dave. These are really successful guys. They'll tell you that often the things, your ability to say no to the things you should not be doing is often even more important to your future than saying yes, because you can say yes to everything and you're just all over the place, a million different things going on. And if you say yes to all potential buyers and all potential referral partners, you're going to end up working with people with whom you don't do your best work. People that drain your energy, make you feel like your work is not worthwhile, maybe even make you feel like you want to do bodily harm to someone else, despite your loving nature. And we don't want you in that situation, because it's not a great way to get repeat business. But I mean, if we could do a poll right now, we don't have to do it. But if we were going to do a poll, And I said, you know, how many people here have had dud clients? Just absolutely, just strung them along forever, made them work twice as hard as they should have had to work, you know, just made them nuts, drained their energy. Every single person would raise their hand. Have you guys ever had that situation?
Absolutely. You know exactly what you're talking about.
And how much more time do you spend with those people than you really should be? You're spending a disproportionate amount of time with them, correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And what it's doing is it's prohibiting you from going after the ideal referral partners and the ideal clients. And so if you make a red velvet rope, if you create this filtration system, you should look at what are the qualities of the people with whom I do my best work. What do I need to see in these referral partners and in these actual buyers that's going to allow me to do my best work? And if you have that filtration system in place, you run people through that. And if they don't make it through that filter, you say no, you move on. You don't even waste your time with it. So you're not just playing a numbers game. You're not just going after anybody that you can. You're going after just the people with whom you do your best work. So let me tell you a quick story to illustrate this point. There's an Aesop's fable that I will embellish a little bit here. There's an old man and a little boy and a donkey. So you've got an old man, a little boy, and a donkey. And they want to go to town. They've never been to town. They've only stayed in their tiny little village. They've never been to the big town. To them, this town is like booking them solid. Okay? Booking themselves solid when they get to this town. So off they go. Now, the old man is on the donkey, and the little boy is walking next to the donkey. And they passed some people who shamed the old man and said, "Old man, how did you make a little boy walk? That's terrible. That's wrong with you. It's inappropriate." The old man said, "Oh my God, they're right." And they talked about it, and they decided to make a change. And so the little boy gets on the donkey, and the old man walks next to the donkey. Now, off they go. Now some people shame the little boy. They said, "Little boy, how could you make an old man walk? That's horrible. That's terrible. You shouldn't do something like that." The little boy said, "Oh my God, they're right." So they talked. They wasted some more time. So what should we do? They had a great idea. They said, "Let's both ride the donkey." It makes perfect sense. We'll solve the problem. So they do. They both get on the donkey. Off they go. Well, now they passed some people who really shamed them and said, "How dare you put such a load on a donkey? That is inhumane." He said, "Oh my God, we are terrible people. What should we do?" They wasted more time. They talked about it. But they didn't come up with a good idea. They said, "Let's walk next to the donkey." Makes perfect sense, right? So they did. Off they go. They walk next to the donkey. Now they passed some people who laughed at them and said, "Look at those idiots. They have a perfectly good donkey and they're walking next to it. What's wrong with them?" And they stopped. They hit themselves in the head. They said, "Yeah, we're stupid. What should we do? We need to do something else. Oh, how about this? We'll carry the donkey." So they did. They carried the donkey. They picked the donkey up on their shoulders, and they're about to get to town. This has been a very long, arduous journey. They're about to get to town. And they've got to cross a bridge over water to get into the town. And as they're crossing the bridge, the donkey slips out of their hands, falls into the river, and drowns. And the moral of the story is, if you try to please everyone, you might as well kiss your ass goodbye. So, that's the red velvet rope policy. And that's my sort of philosophy for everything in life. There are certain people you're meant to serve and others that you're not. And your job is to work really hard to find the people you're meant to serve. And the others, let them go. Don't pay a bit of attention to them. So, if you have that first building block in place, then you put the second building block in place, which is understanding why people buy what you're selling. That means you have a target group, specific group of people that you serve. That means you have a clear understanding of their urgent needs and compelling desires. It means you have a very specific result that you help them achieve. And of course, you know what the deep-rooted benefits from a financial, emotional, physical, and spiritual perspective are. Now, why do I say financial, emotional, physical, and spiritual? Because obviously, you guys help people financially. That makes perfect sense. You can have all sorts of benefits in that area. Emotionally, of course, you get that. Emotional benefits we get from saving money, being able to do the things we want with our money for more financial freedom, etc., security, are significant. But then there's the physical one, which is weird. You're not personal trainers, right? But anytime you help somebody financially or emotionally, you're going to have a physical change. You're going to have a physical change. If my money is better handled, if my mortgages are in the best situations that they can be in, and I have many of them, right? I have a bunch of properties, I have a boat, I have a whole bunch of things going on. I'm going to sleep better. I'm going to have less anxiety. I'm not going to worry as much, and so that's going to change the way I feel physically. I'm going to give me more free time, which means I can go work out more. So you see, there's lots of physical benefits you can get, even though you know you don't think it's what you're helping people with. And then, you know, spiritually, this is one of those weird things that everybody's got a different definition of what that means. But to me, it's just like a connection to why they're here. And, you know, if you're talking about legacy, if you're talking about, you know, financial freedom, you know, these are legacy-driven experiences. And so those are important. And here's the thing. When you're looking at your buyers and you're looking at your referral partners, say the realtors, you need to identify the very specific benefits each one of them is going to receive based on your relationship with them. So it's almost like you have two different target markets. You don't. Your target market is the actual people who buy. There are certain realtors, right? You can segment these realtors. There are certain realtors that you're going to develop relationships with because they can give you access to that target market. And just the last thing on this particular topic that's really important to remember is there are three reasons your target market is essential. Number one, so you know where to find them, and you know where to do your marketing. Number two, when you show up there, they know you are dedicated to them. Right? You work with somebody just like them. You don't work with anybody that has a pulse and a checkbook. You work with somebody just like them. And finally, they already have established networks of communication, and that's the most important thing. They can do your marketing for you. Once you get a foothold in that market, they've already got associations. They've already got influencers. They've got people and institutions that will spread your messages for you. So you get a lot more bang for your buck when you're that focused. So you've got a red velvet rope policy, so you work only with ideal clients, clients that energize you, inspire you, and most importantly, allow you to do your best work. Same thing is true for your referral partners. These referral partners are people that energize you, inspire you, and they allow you to do your best work. And then you understand why people buy what you're selling. You've got a target market, you know their needs and desires, you know the big result you help them get, and you know the deep-rooted benefits that result produces from a financial, emotional, physical, and spiritual perspective. And you're creating these profiles for the realtors and for the clients. So they're going to be different for each one depending on your relationship with them. Now, the third building block of that foundation is my personal favorite. It is your personal brand identity. So you decide how you're known. The business brand identity, especially in your industry, doesn't really mean that much. You know, people are going to look, well, I know that institution, I know that institution, I know that institution, all that's fine. You know, the first thing people look at is, can they help me get what I want, right? Do they help me, someone just like me, get what I want? Do they have the best numbers, etc. That's the sort of very practical, pragmatic thing that they're going to look at. And if the answer is no, they go away. If the answer is yes, is that enough for them to choose you? No, it's not. They need to make a deep emotional connection with you. They need to know what you stand for. They need to know why you get up every day, to do this work. Is it just because, you know, you like the commissions? Is it just because, you know, there was an opening so you took it? You just sort of said, well, you know, I don't know, that'll be a good thing to try for a while? Or is there a deep, deep connection that you can make with them? Philosophically, emotionally. And if you make a deep connection with them, then they choose you. And so there are three components to this personal brand identity. Number one is what I call your who and do what statement, who you serve, what you help them do. That's your target market and the result you produce. The second component is why you do it. That's your why you do it statement. So for me, I'm going to help you think bigger about who you are and what you offer the world. That is why I do this work. And the third component is your tagline, your personal tagline. This is about why people should choose you. It's not your business tagline per se, but why would I choose you? So my personal tagline is because I'm the guy to call when you're tired of thinking small. And so somebody who wants to think bigger about who they are and what they offer the world and also wants to be book solid will choose me. But someone who doesn't connect with that, doesn't really care that much about thinking bigger about who they are and what they offer the world, will go to somebody else with whom they do make some sort of an emotional connection. And that's how you express yourself through your marketing so that the people you're meant to serve go, ah, I'm meant for them. They're meant for me. I'm going to choose him. I'm going to choose her. And if you have this red velvet rope policy, if you understand why people buy what you're selling, and you have a personal brand identity so you decide how you're known in the world, then the fourth building block is easy. You can talk about what you do without sounding confusing or bland or like everybody else, and without using an elevator speech, because you know so deeply why somebody would choose you. You know the result you produce for them, the benefit of that result. You know their needs, desires, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the elevator speech, the 30-second pitch, 30-second commercial, is very popular. And of course, I understand it because we have to be able to talk about what we do. However, it's misappropriated by people like us. It's really designed for the world of venture capital. You know, if you want to start a company, you got to go and pitch an idea to somebody. Well, they say, give me your elevator pitch. That's what's expected. If you want to sell a product into Walmart, you get a Walmart meeting with a Walmart buyer. They say, give me your pitch. So that makes perfect sense. But a relationship between two people, such as the kind of relationship you develop, when it is based on a pitch, when it is based on a script, it doesn't generally start off very, very well. So, for example, you know, I give a speech, say 5,000 people in the audience, and I say, okay, raise your hand if you just absolutely love listening to other people's elevator pitches. Hey guys, how many hands do you think go up?
Very few, if any.
0.
Yep.
Okay? Now I say, okay, so how many of you guys just absolutely love giving your elevator pitch? How many hands do you think go up? Like 3. Okay? And they're usually always guys. And they're like, yo, dude, me, I like it. Right? And I say, okay, well, you like it, but nobody else here wants to hear it. So if nobody wants to hear it and nobody wants to give it, then why are we still doing it? Because we need to be able to talk about what we do. But I have this crazy idea. I mean, it's off the wall. It's like nothing you've ever heard of before. But I have this idea that we should just have a conversation. A conversation with another people that, as is organic, without a script, focuses on the people you serve, that's your target market, the needs and desires they have, the result you produce, and of course, the financial, emotional, physical, spiritual benefits. And if you were going to do an elevator pitch, you would script it, you would craft it with all sorts of beautiful highfalutin language, lots of hyperbole, with that same format, that same structure. So all I'm saying is get rid of the language, get rid of the script, get rid of the hyperbole. Forget about that. If you so deeply know who you serve, the needs, desires they have, the results you produce, and the benefits from a financial, emotional, physical, spiritual perspective, and your brand identity is crystal clear, people know exactly why you do this work, then you can talk about what you do in 3 seconds, 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 weeks, 3 months, it doesn't matter. And if you want to build a relationship with somebody, you're going to have conversations with them over time. So you don't feel the need to do the claw, hold on to them and say, no, 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 I've got to give you my speech right now. So of course, sometimes you're going to stand up at a meeting somewhere, B&I, with tip, etc., and you got to give what they call your elevator pitch. So you just say, I help these people do this. That's it. Done. You sit down. Because the person who is sort of pushing the least, the person who doesn't need to prove themselves the most, is generally the most attractive person in that room. So you just say, I help these people do this, sit down. And people will come and talk to you. So that's the foundation. You know, some of it may be contrary to what you've heard, that's fine. I don't think there is only one way to do anything. I think you find the best way for you, whatever works for you, whatever you like to do, and you do that. This particular way has been incredibly effective for a lot of people, especially those who don't typically love marketing and selling. My hope is that you fall in love with marketing and selling, because if you really do fall in love with marketing and selling, you know, then you'll have a book solid business for the rest of your life. The book Yourself Solid is a love story disguised as a business book, as a business system. And, you know, it's a love story between you and all of the inspiring clients that you serve, and a love story between you and the whole concept of marketing and selling. And am I crazy to talk about the idea of love in business? Of course not. You got to love what you do. You got to love the people you serve. And if you don't have that feeling, how are you going to be compelled? How are you going to want to every single day have meetings, connect with, get in touch with, develop relationships with realtors who are going to bring you business? You need to have that kind of love. And if this foundation is strong enough, you choose the people you work with, you choose the people you connect with, you know exactly who they are, you know all about them. You've got this beautiful personal brand identity, so you can be fully self-expressed in your work. You can talk about what you do without sounding confusing or bland or like everybody else. Then you will love marketing. Now, the second module in Book Yourself Solid is all about building trust and credibility. It's a whole steps to putting that into place, a number of steps. The third module is pricing, selling strategies, and the fourth module are the 6 core self-promotion strategies, which I mentioned earlier. So that's just the beginning, but I always recommend you work on that before you go out and do tons and tons of marketing. Because if you go out and do tons and tons of marketing, but that foundation isn't set, isn't strong, again, the marketing will sort of like, it's like you do it and, you know, it's like throwing things at the wall and hopefully it'll stick and nothing's sticking, right?
So I want to jump in on this.
How's it first?
Yeah. Hey, Michael, I would like to jump in on what you just said there for a second, and because you just covered so much ground. And everybody listening, I've been through this. I actually read his book several years ago, and I went through the workbook. He has this very thick workbook that you go through, and it is very difficult, and I've actually taught some of my guys here to do that as well. But going through the foundation piece first is critical, because at the end of the day, let's take Mortgage Coach, for example. If you're going out there and using those tools, but it doesn't connect with you and it's not connecting with the realtor, it'll do some good, because Mortgage Coach, Edge, and the mobile, they're just doing all the work for you. And it's a great tool. But I found, Michael, when I did this, when I did the Red Velvet Rope, which, and you talk about this in your book too, but it's hard work. It's hard to say no to an agent, especially when you're having the meetings and you want to make those meetings valuable. But, man, you could have 10 meetings a week with agents that do 0 to 1 deal a month, and you're going to have a lot of meetings and not get a lot of business. You know what I mean?
That's
but
right.
But what's great is you can start having those and you work your way through it, and your red velvet rope's a little bit loose. And that's what I learned from you through going through some of your courses. And you continually tighten that red velvet rope, so you become to deal with more and more of your ideal clients over time. And by understanding and going through, and what am I really passionate about this business? One, you're more excited when you talk about it, and it's not just numbers and mortgage, because that's really boring. But talking about how you connect with people and why you're doing this and how you're here to help and how we've got the lowest rates in our history and the highest foreclosure rates. There's something else going on. We've got to get to that problem, and that together you can do something great. Man, you really change the conversation. And I just want to encourage you guys that are listening to this call that that you can really say no to the wrong agent. Because when you say right to that wrong agent and you have that high maintenance blow up and they're blowing you up all the time, and now you've got to get right off that phone, and as soon as you get off the phone, now you got to get a call from that good agent, that agent that you want really bad, or you got to go to that meeting, or you got to take that really high level lead that you got from that great agent. Well, you're not at your best, and that's what Michael's talking about, and that's what he talks about in the book, is that you're doing a disservice to those ideal clients, and you don't get them because you wasted time and energy and focus on the bad.
Let me jump in there and mention and speak to Edge for a second, because I looked through the platform before the webinar today. I was blown away, absolutely impressed. You know, obviously, like most folks, I've got lots of mortgages over my career, and nobody has ever presented to me that way. And if they had, would have completely turned me around. Yeah, you're right. It's usually like written on a piece of paper, or maybe they'll send you an email with some numbers, and you know, if you don't see it in those clear terms, it's hard to really buy into what they're offering, and you don't always believe it either. So I was very, very impressed with that. I thought that was really actually extraordinary, remarkable. That would be the word that was used. So, that's right.
Dave, can I jump in here for a second?
Pile on, Ron.
As we get ready to transition a little bit here, we got about 18 minutes left on this call. I just want to do just a quick debrief. But by the way, gang, those of you that are on this call today, the best favor you could do yourself is when we wrap up this call, go to Amazon, go to Michael's website, buy the books, download. I've read them. I gave Dave one as a gift. I've given probably 50 to 60 of his books as gifts to my friends and clients, because I want them to understand. You know what he said, the more you say no, the more successful you're becoming, interpreted in a different way. Another thing that he talked about was create some industry separation. That old saying, the more you blend in, the more you fade away. You got to have that separation. And then, you know, the clients that you're looking for, Todd Duncan, we're having a convention, Michael, out in a big conference in Palm Desert, and I believe it's October, by an industry thought leader.
October 23rd.
October 23rd, a thought leader, probably one of the top guys in our industry, Todd Duncan. And this is going to be the 20th anniversary. Darren Hardy, I know you probably know Darren through Success Magazine, and he's going to be one of the keynote speakers out there. And what Todd Duncan is always talking about is not necessarily going after the top producers in your marketplace, but going after the people that are the best essence match for who you align with. And that's what exactly Michael said. Just, again, we hear it from Todd all the time, and Todd is saying the same thing regarding that essence match. You've got to find people that you want to do business with, not that you have to do business with.
That's right.
And when you arrive at that, you've arrived. That's when that old saying, when your vocation becomes your vacation, that's when you've arrived. Yeah. And I love that saying. So if those of you that are on this call today, if this is your first exposure to Michael Port, I really encourage all of you to embrace not only his first book, but all of his books. I was really blown away and surprised when you wrote the Think Big Manifesto, and I was not even aware that I was going to be in it, and a featured person. And you're telling stories about my life, and my wife's reading it. She's freaking out. She's like, "How do you know this guy?" I go, "We've just had a couple of conversations, but I'm blown away reading this thing myself." She goes, "Did you give him permission to do this?" I go, "I don't remember, but I don't mind." So, folks, if you're on this call, you're listening to Michael Port just to do what we in radio call a reset. And Michael Port is a leading author, trainer, consultant around the world, not just boxed within the mortgage industry, but across all platforms. And what he just said regarding having this passion, falling in love with sales and marketing, when it becomes like a hobby or it becomes a sport, it's something that you want to compete in and win and having fun at doing it, gang, just embrace his mentality, embrace his thought process, and let it become a part of who you are. I'm freaking out over here listening to you, Michael, because it's kind of scary how much of your teachings I've integrated into what I do as the CEO of the Real Estate Radio Network. So I'm over here writing down notes, and I go, God, this is where I learned it from. I have a red velvet rope procedure of how we bring on radio show hosts. I have 2 people that are dialers, and they are calling into cities, and they're asking for referrals. We only want people that are ambitious, people that are great networkers, people that are established within the business. Who would you recommend that we invite to a VIP luncheon or invite to a VIP dinner? So I walk your talk in terms of how we basically market Real Estate Radio Network in different cities around the country. So, folks, just that, I've been on these conference calls for years, and just as a personal testament, I walk Michaal's talk, and I live it, I breathe it. We integrate it into what we do in the way of a business. We send out FedEx invites, almost like a wedding invitation to the 75 people in the marketplace that we've identified as those targets that we think would be a good essence match for our business. We usually get somewhere between 10 to 12, as many as 15 people there. We present our solution. At the end of it, get the 3 to 4 people that want to jump on board. So, we walk your talk, Michael, and I actually deploy your practices that you're trying to share with people right now. And as I throw it over to you, Dave, because this is your conference call, I just wanted to chime in as a testimonial, kind of like what Andy just did, that, folks, it's okay to reach outside of the industry for mentors and leaders and thought leaders in terms of people that you can listen to and people that you can take advice from for guiding your business. As a matter of fact, most of the best thought leaders are not within the mortgage industry. They're outside of it. And so as you're listening to Michael here, embrace his teachings, and the best thing you could do, get involved with his online community. It's a huge community of Michael's brought together so many different people. He's really turned into the hub of the wheel. So if you joined the call a little bit late, I just want you to know exactly who you're listening to right now. This is a thought leader that people pay literally thousands of dollars per hour in some cases just to be able to receive this man's advice. So tune in. Dave, over to you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
Ron. That's very kind.
yeah, thanks, Andy and Ron. Good perspectives. So this kind of ties back to one of the things we were talking about last week. And when I did a survey asking how much purchase business you closed last month and you expected to close this month, it wasn't surprising that it came down to a top 5% and a top 10% that were really executing well. And when we look at the mortgage coach community and how many people are delivering this best practice presentation, you know, there's definitely a 10 and 20% that are doing it the best. And then it just made me think when I saw the survey questions as we started this that 25% didn't have a single meeting. You know, here's where I'd like to go with this last question, Michael, as we kind of wrap it up. I think a lot of folks who are on this call that are getting a lot of meetings, you know, between what you shared and getting your book and reading your book, I was actually thumbing through it while you were talking, you know, looking at just what a great job you do at helping people tactically execute that vision. You know, in this call, you laid out a vision for, you know, let's kill the elevator pitch and let's create a personal brand. I can't remember the word, personal brand presence, but you give the map to do that. So, folks, I just can't encourage enough to get that book. But let's go here, Michael. For the folks that answered 0, or the folks that had 1 or 2. I mean, by the way, I don't need to do a poll to find out why. I've asked the question too many times. I've coached too many loan officers. It's a lack of confidence. And whether you want to admit it or not, you know, yes, I know that the excuse comes in busyness. I was too busy doing this and too busy doing that. But at the end of the day, if you have enough confidence and you've got that personal brand statement down and you're a power user of tools like Mortgage Coach so that you are just blowing people's minds and you want to get into those meetings, you get into those meetings. So, Michael, why don't we wrap up with speak to the heart. Let's connect with these folks that don't have the confidence. What do you say to them? You know, what do they read? What do they do to build that spark of confidence so that they can get on the phone with the right realtors in their market and get meetings?
Sure. So one of the things that's helpful to ask yourself is, what's more important, approval or results? Because when we are anxious about trying to set up meetings or meet people, develop relationships, it's often because we're afraid we're going to be rejected. Someone's going to say no to us. Someone might not like us. And that's going to happen from time to time, for sure. But A, it's not always personal. That's important to remember. You know, other people's behavior is not a response to you always. So that's number one. But number two, you're focusing on results, then you're not as worried about whether somebody says, if somebody says no to you. Results, results, results. And when you produce results, you increase your confidence. You know, it's the chicken and the egg. If you are producing results every day or every week, you're going to start to feel really confident. I also think that you build confidence when you fulfill the commitments that you make. If you say to yourself when you get off this call, I'm going to, you know, call 7 people this week or 10 people this week, and you don't do it, then you didn't fulfill a commitment that you made to yourself. And that means you didn't fulfill a commitment that you made to your family, to your children. And that decreases your confidence. That hurts. But if you followed through on that commitment you made to yourself, to your family, to your children, even if none of those 7 people became buyers or referral partners, you still feel good about yourself because you fulfilled the commitment. And that alone will increase your confidence. And if you think about successful people are in large part successful because they do the things they say they're going to do. They continue to make commitments and they continue to fulfill them. And they make bigger commitments and they fulfill those. And as a result, the sum of all of these fulfilled commitments produces something great. So I say focus on 2 things. Number 1, focus on results rather than approval. And number 2, focus on making commitments and fulfilling them. It's also a wonderful way to develop relationships with people. So I said earlier that I was going to give you a little window inside into the Book Yourself Solid networking strategy. And I'll do it now because it's based on commitment making and fulfilling. So when you meet somebody, I recommend never giving your business card out unless somebody asks for it. Now, I know that sounds very contrarian or even controversial, but you know how often people, you'll meet somebody, they'll give you 2 business cards, you never met them before, this is the first time you've heard their name. What usually happens to those business cards, right? You know, you're on the parking lot, you see that person, and they're picking their teeth with the business card, or you go to the bathroom and you look and you go, is that my business card? You know, behind the flush sleeve. So you don't want that to happen. So I say this: if you meet somebody that you want to develop a relationship with, ask them for their card. If they ask you for yours, give it to them. If not, don't just hand it to them, because you have too much confidence to need to do that. If you have their card, you say, hey, listen, on Monday I'm going to send you an email and we'll just follow up about X, Y, and Z. Guess what you do on Monday? Exactly that. Because now the first interaction they have with you is of someone who makes a commitment and fulfills it. So after that email, you make a commitment to fulfill it. You make a commitment to fulfill it. And it's not always a commitment of where you're trying to get them to buy something. It's not that, don't get off the phone until you've got them to make a next step commitment. It's not that. In fact, sometimes that can actually work against you. But what you're trying to do is make commitments that will be relevant to them and bring value to them. So for example, here are 4 things that I recommend you do every single day. First, introduce 2 people inside your network who do not yet know each other, but might find each other relevant. It could be because they have a professional relevancy, or it's something personal. They're both great golfers. Say, hey, Dave, meet Ron. Ron, meet Dave. You guys are both scratch golfers. I don't know if you guys are, but you're both scratch golfers. I know you're always looking for a 4th. There are a lot of scratch golfers out there, and I know you never ask me. So, you guys might want to, hook up, play together sometime. Peace out. See you later. That's it. If they hook up, great. If they don't, big deal. But you do that each day. Now, I want you to count with me. Do the math as I go through this. That's 2 people a day you're bringing value to, not asking for anything in return. Don't even have to leave your house. I don't like leaving my house. If I'm either on my boat or at home, and if I don't have to travel, I'm happy. And so I started doing this because I figured I needed to stay in touch with people. So these are people that you know. You don't have to know them super well, but you find some way to bring some value to them by introducing to somebody else that may be relevant to them. So that's 2 people a day. Now, the second thing you do is share some information with at least 2 people a day. Now, what kind of information? Is it something that will compel them to buy from you? Not necessarily. It might be something that you read, somebody else wrote, something you saw in the Wall Street Journal, something that's relevant or related to one of their hobbies. And you say, hey, Andy, I saw this article, and I immediately thought of you. Have you seen it? If not, here's the link. If so, what do you think? Now you're in a conversation with them about something that is relevant to that. You do that with 2 people each day. Now, the reason that you're able to do this is because you read, right? You pay attention to what's going on in the world and in your industry, and in other industries, I hope. Third thing you do each day is just share some compassion with at least 1 person that needs some support. That's all you do. Hey, anything I can do for you? I know you're going through a tough time. Or maybe they had some big win. You just want to congratulate them on their big win. You're sharing some compassion, some support. Do that with at least 1 person each day. You go out of the way to do that specifically, because you should share compassion all the time, right? But you go out of the way to do that specifically. And finally, reach out to 1 person each day that you do not yet know but would like to know. And you could do this with more. More would be great, but at least 1. Okay, because if you do the math on this, you'll see how many people this is and how you can get booked solid. So let's just look at the introducing 2 people, the sharing information, the compassion. These are all people that you already know. If you share with 2 people a day information, if you introduce 2 people a day, and if you share compassion with at least 1 person a day, that's 5 people every day. 5 times 5, guys, I'm going to ask you to do some math. You're all smart guys, you know math. 5 times 5 is what?
25.
Yes, thank you very much. 5 times 5 is 25. Now,
I might get that one.
I had to unmute.
Oh, you're sure.
I had to unmute. Sorry, guys.
Oh, come on.
So now you've got 4 weeks. So that's 25 people in a week you're staying in touch with. Now, 25 times 4 is how much?
100.
100 people every single week you're keeping in touch with, probably 5 to 7 minutes a day. Now, think about it. If you reach out to one new person every day, let's see, there's 5 days in a week, and there's 4 weeks in a month. Well, that's 20 people, 20 new people that you're reaching out to every month. All you have to do is 2 people a day. Now it's 40. Now, this isn't just the traditional, just dial away, dial away. These are very specific, targeted people that you want to bring into your network. These are not potential buyers of your service, but these are referral partners, door openers, people who can create opportunities for you, influencers in your industry. And you're being very specific about it. And let's say they respond right away, great. You move them into your network. You start introducing them to people, sharing information with them, sharing compassion with them. If they don't pay attention, if they don't respond the first time, just put them at the bottom of this list. So you should be paying attention to 20 all the time, meaning you should go right now and find who are the 20 people that I want to meet that will be relevant. I do not yet know them, but I know if I know them, it will add value to my work. Put them on a list. So if that person you reached out to doesn't respond, fine, put them at the bottom of the list. Make them number 20, make number 2019. Make number 2 number 1. You reach out to the person who's number 1 tomorrow, and you keep cycling through. And every time you create a connection, you take them off that list and you move them into your network where you're introducing them to people, sharing information with people, and sharing compassion with them. 5 to 7 minutes every day.
Beautiful. Hey, Dave.
Yes, my man.
We're at the top of the hour, so we gotta start to wind this down. But I just want to do a real quick summary. Michael talked about at the beginning of this call, people become aware. That's my phone. I apologize. People become aware of you, and then it's a matter of that they're still not necessarily going to engage with you in a transaction or anything like that. They have to like you. They have to build trust with you, and they eventually. By the way, if you move them from like to love, that's when you've won the battle. When they love you, and that's really what Michael's talking about here. For those of you that are in the mortgage world, the practical application to this is make your realtors your friends. Try to develop a relationship that is beyond just they sell the home, you finance it. You move away from the product. Don't be product dependent. Don't be interest rate reliant or anything like that. You got to build that relationship where they go to you because they trust you with their clients. They trust you with their transaction. And that's really what the core of this meeting was about, was how do we get to that point where we could deploy Michael's teachings and win additional relationships. Dave, you talked about lack of confidence being a big one. One of the things that stops a lot of people. I also think there's a lot of people that they know the pain that they're in right now, and they learn how to manage their life with that pain, and they don't know what's outside of that next box. They step into a different world. They don't know what that looks and feels like, so they're willing to live in their comfort of their current pain versus stepping out and doing something bigger and more fun. And so I think what you mentioned, Dave, in the way of lack of confidence is a big one, but I also think it's fear of the unknown is another big one for a lot of people too. So I just wanted to chime in on that as we start to wind down the call, Dave.
Yeah, no, great points. So folks, I think if you are doing a lot of business and you're looking to just sharpen your sword, take it to another level, I think you've got some content, you've got a great book to read. Michael, what are some other ways people can connect with you? I've got your website up. How can folks take action and learn more from you?
So the site that you have there is michaelport.com. It's a great place to go because you can get, as you see, 6 free chapters from my various books. If you need to book yourself solid, the book to get right now is Book Yourself Solid Illustrated. It is a visual version of Book Yourself Solid for those of you who are visual learners. There's also an app that comes with it. So there's an app that you can put on any mobile device, or you can put right on your browser on the computer, and all of the exercises from the book are in that app, and you can do it right there. So it's always saved. You know where you are. It's essentially a whole coaching system for free in that app, and you can get that with the book. So Book Yourself Solid Illustrated is the one I recommend you get now. Go ahead and get those free chapters as well. You'll see from the other books, and you'll also get my ongoing tips, strategies, etc., so we can keep in touch and continue to develop relationships. And I just wanted to point out one thing. Andy, by the way, is really good at the kind of keep in touch that I was talking about. The direct outreach and the keeping in touch. I developed a relationship with Andy as a result of him doing those kinds of activities. So, watch how Andy does that. He does it very well.
Thanks, Michael.
Great. Well,
Ron, I need to get it. I just want to make it. I know you got to finish up, but I got to say this because I do this every day. What Michael just talked about, it's in my task calendar because he teaches that. Direct outreach to 1 or 2 people. Follow up with a past direct outreach. Add a new person to the list. Introduce 2 new people. Share knowledge. Share compassion. And breathe. It's that easy. It takes half an hour. It is the biggest thing you can do for your business, and the second biggest thing you could do is not buy one book, but buy a case. By the way, the illustrated version works great for agents because you know their personality types for the most part. It is such a great way to reach back out to them.
If I was going to, be very self-promoting here, I'd say buy a case and give them the agents as gifts because they will appreciate it and they will associate the value there with you.
100% right. And then you can walk them through it, and it's a great way to continue to stay involved. And here's the deal: if they hate the book or aren't it, that's a good filter right there. Because the ones that get this book, you're going to go so deep with that they'll be realtors for you for life.
Yeah. So guys, I mean, tremendous value. I'm going to download the app when I get off of this call, and I urge everybody to do the same. Don't wait till tomorrow morning. We know you won't do it. Take action now. This is a tremendous roadmap to get a lot more value. I ask everybody, how obvious is the value in your confidence? I had a few slides that I'm going to fly through quick just to wrap up, but it's been a tremendous call. I hope everybody will take action. Hey, Andy, if you would put your notes in the comment section of the blog post where we promoted this, and also put a link to some of this stuff, if you wouldn't mind, Andy, just to make sure people, there's no excuse. Take action. If you didn't take good notes during the meeting, there'll be a link on our Facebook page where we demonstrate, one of the many places that we promoted the call. And everybody, you guys have a unique community. You've got a unique tool that you can use. Make sure you're doing this stuff at a level of excellence. We've got an entire support team here to support you. So if you have a question, if you have an issue, you can get it online. You can go to our Thursday call. So every Thursday, 9 o'clock Pacific, we're here to connect as a community. And again, we're all mobile experts. So everybody in the organization has an iPad. We are experts at helping you drive value that way. And Michael, I want to chat with you. I love the fact that you've got a mobile app. I mean, I don't know too many thought leaders and coaches that are where you're at. So I love what you're doing. I really appreciate the time you took to prepare for this call. And I hope everybody will connect with you and our friends will become your friends, my friend.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I never take it for granted. It's really just a privilege and a pleasure to be of service, so thank you.
All right, guys. Well, hey, have a fantastic week. I'm going to ask that question again next week. How many realtor meetings did you have? 0 is completely the wrong answer. 1 to 2 is, it's a pretty weak effort unless you close 5 loans that month or that week and you were just slammed. Hopefully, we're going to see a whole new level of action, whole new level of confidence, and bring back your stories next week. Let us know what you thought of this call, and hopefully someone will have honed in. We don't call it the elevator pitch now, Michael. What do we call it? The Michael Port pitch?
No, it's just a conversation.
Okay, the conversation. Let's talk about some conversations that have evolved that are getting more meetings. Ron, thank you for your time. Andy, thank you for your time. And guys, have a great week.
Peace.